So, hello everybody. So, this video today is to tell you a little bit about my career. So, what I was showing you at the very beginning is an old poster I did for an exposition there was in a museum on the French Riviera about my games in 2000, je sais même plus, I don't even remember. There's not the year, 2015. So the video you saw at the beginning is like all the games, kind of some of the games that have published, that have been published under different publishers in 2015. So that's 7 years ago. Anyway, so I'm here today to tell you a little bit about my career, the game design, and how it all started, things like that. So I started playing when I was very young. First, you know, the memory things and Boggle and Monopoly and things like that. And I think my first games that I started to design, I was around 7 years old, was barely just some racing games like the Jeux de Roi, improved Game of the Goose. I don't know if it's the name in English, but I mean games with only random, as a matter of fact, contrary to Rise and Fall or Dungeon Twister or some of my other games with only random. And then around the age of 8, 9, I discovered diplomacy and then the war games, and then a magazine in France that was coming out every 2 months first and then every month. It's called Jeux Stratégie. They had the game as an insert inside the magazine. And I got the number 4 of this magazine, when the magazine ran all the way to number 60. And I always asked my mom to give me a subscription to this magazine. So every 2 months I would receive not only a magazine about games, but also a new game every 2 months in the mailbox. So this magazine in the beginning of the 80s and all the way till the beginning of the 90s or late 80s lasted for like 10 years maybe. And I have still the whole collection. And this one showed me all the different types of games and things and different universe and everything that existed in terms of game mechanics and all that and all. And it's at that point that I started to design games that were more adult, probably more fun, more inventive, innovative, and all that. Initially, I designed games only for my pure own pleasure and the pleasure of sharing my designs and playing those games with my friends. I was already starting to collect games, and when we were kids, like maybe 13 or what, I already had a collection of maybe 100 or between 100 and 200 games, including the game inserts that were in the magazines. And it was never enough for me. I had to create my own and teach those games to my friendly players, kids from school and all that, and share those games and play together. It's many years later that there's the first shift, I would say, in my life into the game design process, is when I learned that there was a contest, a game design contest, that was in Paris, like Boulogne-Billancourt, the Concours des Créateurs de Boulogne-Billancourt, where there's designers from all around the world sending their games in English, French, and other languages. And this game contest had the reputation to be very, very serious and very well regarded and looked at after by the publishers, at least in France. And so I decided to participate to this contest with a game. It was an abstract game, but that was circular and with colors, and that would go from 2 to 6 players. There was no abstract game circular for up to 6 players, things like that at that time. And I participated, and they returned me the prototype, and I didn't win the first time I did that. I think it was beginning of the 90s or something like that. And I did that because at that time I had a gaming club on the French Riviera in Nice. At the peak of our highest activity, we had 100 different players coming. And that's where I had my prototypes turning on different tables with different players, more and more than usual. And that's when they kept telling me, but your games are good, you should do something with your games, you should try to publish them and all. And that was the part that was kind of like repulsive for me. And I didn't want to, go with my suitcase and my games and go to Paris or wherever and go knock at the doors of the publisher. At that time, There was no such internet, emails, and connections between all the people. So I had no starting entry point and all that, I would say. And when they were pushing me to do something with my games, and me, I was not really convinced that there was something that could be done with my own games, that's when I learned that there was this contest in Boulogne-Billancourt, and I was more scared of never getting back my prototype. That's what I was scared of, that they would lose or keep or whatever my prototype. I was lazy to do a second one. That's always been the case of all my prototypes. Anyway, so I didn't win this contest, but then, like a few years after, or 4 or 5 years, I don't know, I was in Cannes, and I met the guy who was responsible of this game design contest in Paris. And so we talked a little bit, and he told me, oh, no, you should have called or write, and he gave me his card, his business card, and his phone number, and he told me after the Cannes Gaming Fair, call me on Monday, give me the reference of the year you participated to the contest, the reference of your game, and I'll tell you more about why you didn't win. Because I was telling him in Cannes, it's nice, I got my prototype back, which is what I was the most scared of, so thanks. But there's no argument on why did I lose or why I didn't win, what's wrong, or what could be changed or improved on the game to make it good, things like that. And he was telling me, no, but we don't give feedback like that. First, because it's time costly. Second, because we're not the word of God. That means that what we feel, we see, it's our point of view. But if we criticize something and we are wrong or what, we would make you change something on the game that shouldn't be changed, kind of. Something like that. So that was his explanation for telling me that we don't send automatically the specifications or critics on what was wrong in your game and what you should change. Anyway, so I'll call on the Monday, and I give my reference, and he said, oh, this year, okay. And then, oh, but you went in the first pre-selections. Oh, that's nice already, okay. Then, oh, you went into the finals. Okay, it was the finals, so that's nice. How many games do you have in the finals? Oh, there's like 12. Oh, how many? And there's the Gobelet d'Or, the silver, the gold, the silver, and the copper or what, and then there were different. As a matter of fact, I ended up at the end of the conversation understanding that my game ended up 4th in its category when there's prize only for the third place, the 3 first places. You know what I mean? So it's like, but damn, that's very motivating. That means that I was this close to at least getting a reward. You should say that to the people. Because me, since that so many years ago, I kept designing games, and my closets are full of games, and I never took it. So the year after I knew that, I sent like one game first, and I won in 1998 with Grande Surface. A game where you manage the supermarkets and what they do, their layout, and what they sell, the commercial they do, and all that. Anyway, this one never got published. It was too heavy and too big for that time. At that time, publishers were going away from the big heavy games such as Civilization and Twilight Imperium and all those things. They were going into a lot simpler games. So I got a prize on this game, but it never got published. And then the year after, because now this time I won, and there was no limitation at that time on how many games you could send, I sent 4 games in 1999, and out of those 4 games, only 1 got totally rejected. 3 of them were in competition in the finals. 2 of them were in the finals competing for the last for the last places. So I was in competition with myself on 2 games out of the 4. And 1 of them got the prize, and that's where I got my first publication with Jeux des Cartes at that time. It was called Halloween Party. And then I got, at that time in France, there were the 3 major publishers where Asmodee was not at all as big as it is today. They were not starting, but they were starting to get big. There was Tilsit and there were Jeux des Cartes. So my objective was to try to sign a game, publish a game with at least one game with each of them, just to show that I'm not, dedicated to one publisher. I'm an independent game designer, and I have ideas and I have many games, and I wish to sign with whoever is willing to sign them, kind of likes them. And so in the year, I think in less than a year, I had the Spider-Man and Snowboard coming out with Tilsit, and Dog's Life and a Halloween Party coming out with Jeux des Cartes, and Chat Perché Save the Cats or something like that for more for kids, and Dungeon Twister coming out with Asmodee after. So that objective was done in a year or something like that, and then after I discovered Essen and the Gen Con and all those huge fairs where I could meet more and more international publishers, and that's when I started to sign games in Germany. Nowadays I have I don't know, something like 60 I don't even know, you should go on BGG and you'll see, but something like between 60 and 80 games that have been published. The ones that I'm the most known for are Dungeon Twister, Archipelago, Earth Reborn, maybe Living Planet also a bit. The games that are more family and kids, but I'm not the most famous for, people don't even know sometimes that I designed those ones, are like Difference with Gigamic, and Fruit Salad that Ludically published, or Illegal, that is a party game. So I've designed all kind of games. I kind of like play everything. The games that I like personally to play the most are more, expert games or miniature games, or games like Rise and Fall or Archipelago or Dungeon Twister, Freeborn. All those ones are, those are my games that I could play like forever without getting tired of them, kind of. Fruit Salad, I enjoy designing it. I love to play it here and there, but you don't make me play a whole evening of Fruit Salad, and I don't guess anybody except a kid who keeps winning on it and loves it would play it in a row. I mean, in a loop. Sorry. So, well, I designed all types of games, but my favorite ones as a players are the Euro games, the miniature games, games with a lot of interactivity, games with a lot of control, where the random factor is the lowest as possible, and most of all, games where the theme is really here. Like when you play, you feel that the actions and the things you do, the rules you're playing, they are going with the theme. They're not here to just put a randomized aspect that makes something that's different. When in a game there's something, an element that is totally anti-thematic, that doesn't compute what it generates, the element, compared to the thematic it should do, when it's opposite, then I'm just sick of the game. When as soon as I see that, it's like itching me, like a mosquito bite that cannot go off. Well, so I hate that, and I try as much as possible to avoid that in my games. I try to always have a good reason and a good explanation for this rule and this mechanic and that thing. That's it. I never won any Spiel or Asdor or any prize. Yeah, I won the Patate d'Or at Paris Ludique, PEL. That was the third one. Yeah, there was Bruno Fediti, the first one, Croc, the second one, and Croc from Asmodee named me as the third Patate d'Or. So that's it for my curriculum vitae, and you know about my story and my life of. I'm close to 55 now. And I started at 7, so that's 48 years of game design. The first years were probably crappy ones. I don't even have them back. But the ones I designed when I was 9 or 10, I have all of them back. That's it for today. See you next time.